Welcome to Art Happens, the divine mess of art history, presented by J Squared Atelier. I'm James William Moore, and today we're looking into one of the greatest art capers ever committed. The 1911 theft that transformed Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa from a quiet Renaissance portrait into the most famous face on the planet. Before we talk about the theft, we've got to talk about her. Well, and him. Leonardo da Vinci wasn't just a painter. He was a one-man Renaissance movement. Born in 1452 in a small Tuscan town called Vinci, yes, that's where the name comes from, Leonardo was the guy who did everything. Painter, inventor, engineer, anatomist, philosopher. Probably would have been a podcaster if he'd been born 5 centuries later. By the early 1500s, he had already painted The Last Supper, dissected cadavers to map human muscles, designed flying machines, and written thousands of pages of notes backwards and literally backward. Because why not? So when a wealthy silk merchant in Florence, Francesco del Giocondo, asked Leonardo to paint a portrait of his wife, Lisa Gherardini, it was just another commission. Or so it seemed. He started the portrait around 1503, probably in his studio overlooking the Arno River. Lisa's expression, that almost smile, wasn't a mystery to her. It was likely just the polite face one makes when sitting still for hours while a genius mutters about light and shadow. But Leonardo was obsessed. He tinkered with the painting for years, carrying it with him from Florence to Milan and then to France. It was never delivered to the Giocondo family. Instead, Leonardo kept it, like a creative who just couldn't stop editing their masterpiece. And the painting was small, just a mere 30 by 21 inches, painted in oil on a thin poplar wood panel. When he died in 1519, the painting was in a studio in France and passed to King Francis I, who hung it in his royal bathroom. Yep, a bathroom, at the Château de Fontainebleau. From royal plumbing decor to the Louvre's main attraction, not a bad career arc. But here's the twist. For 300 years, she sat quietly. No mobs, no selfies. Just another Renaissance portrait admired by artists, scholars, and the occasional royal visitor. It wasn't until her dramatic disappearance in 1911 that she became the Mona Lisa, a global celebrity with a smile that launched 1,000 conspiracy theories. On the morning of Monday, August 21st, 1911, the Louvre was closed for maintenance. Vincenzo Peruggia, an Italian handyman with access, opportunity, and a misguided sense of patriotism, arrived early, dressed in a white worker smock, the same as museum staff. He walked straight through the doors, past guards who didn't even glance at him. He lifted the painting off the wall, removed its frame, and hid it under his coat. Then he simply just walked out. No alarms, no chase, just silence. Hours passed, a day, then 2. Visitors came and went, assuming the Mona Lisa had been taken for cleaning. It wasn't until Wednesday morning that a painter arrived to study her and found nothing but 4 empty wall hooks. The Louvre exploded into chaos. By nightfall, news hit the presses. "The Mona Lisa! Stolen from the Louvre!" screamed headlines across Europe. Crowds flooded the museum, not to see art, but to see the absence of art. Even Pablo Picasso was questioned, dragged in by police because he'd once bought stolen sculptures. But there was no trace of the painting or Peruggia. While France panicked, Peruggia kept the Mona Lisa tucked away in his one-room Paris flat. He claimed he had hidden her in a false-bottom trunk, right under his own bed, where she stayed for 2 years. No black market deal, no ransom note, just waiting. When asked why, Peruggia said he wanted to return her to Italy, believing wrongly that Napoleon had stolen her. In truth, Leonardo brought her to France himself, likely selling or gifting her to King Francis I in the 1500s. So Peruggia's act of patriotism was based on bad history and very good irony. It's 1913. In Florence, art dealer Alfredo Geri receives a letter from a man claiming to possess the missing masterpiece. Peruggia arrives with a trunk. He opens it. And there she is, Leonardo's enigmatic portrait, perfectly intact. Police are called. Peruggia is arrested. The painting then tours Italy briefly before returning to Paris to thunderous crowds. Ironically, the painting's homecoming turned her into a superstar. Millions saw her face on front pages of newspapers. She'd been missing for 2 years, and now she was a living myth. Before the theft, Mona Lisa was admired, but not adored. Afterward, she became a symbol of mystery, of genius, and art itself. The world didn't fall in love with her smile until it lost it. Writers described her as the woman who vanished. Artists painted parodies. Salvador Dali called her the ultimate ghost of beauty. Leonardo's art gave her form, but Peruggia's crime gave her fame. A strange partnership between genius and thief. It turns out, the Mona Lisa didn't become famous for her smile, but for her absence. Thanks for joining me for this masterpiece moment on Art Happens, the Divine Mess of Art History, presented by J Squared Atelier. Next time on Art Happens, we'll uncover another deliciously messy story from art history, where beauty and chaos share the same canvas. Until then, remember, every masterpiece has a little bit of mess behind it. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to Art Happens. New episodes drop every week. And if you love hearing artists talk about their creative sparks, be sure to catch our sister show, Lattes and Art, where conversations around creativity brew while we sip on espresso drinks. I'm James William Moore, and thanks for listening.